Here.
Donnie.
Here.
Mr. O'Day.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Mr. Sullivan.
Here.
Mr. Barron.
Here.
Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News, Courier News, and the Star Ledger, filed with the municipal clerk, and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 12, 2017. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get to presentations, we have Mr. Walton here from JCP&L.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Rob Walden, Jersey Central Power and Light, 52 Chatham Road, City of Summit. Just wanted to stop in and say hello, show my face. I know we've had a rough time here in Bernardsville through the storms from March 2nd to March 7th. Just to give you some storm stats for us, 529,000 customers lost power during those 2 March storms. 1,900 roads were closed as a result of the storms. 765 poles were broken. Over 3,000 spans of wire came down. And the big number, 5,600 different tree locations, trees falling on wires or poles that took out power for our customers. So just want to stop and certainly answer any questions you may have about the storm. We are trying to get out to meet with the public and do presentations about storm response and storm process. If there's any group in town that would benefit from doing a presentation on that, we'd be happy to do it. We made a presentation to the county OEM coordinators. Your chief was among them, attended. We'd love to do that to the residents of the borough regulators.
I was there that night as well, and you made a good point, and you more or less gave a sequence of operations as far as whom you respond to, hospitals, that kind of thing. Can you just briefly explain that order?
Sure. So at a major event like the storms of March 2nd, where we have several 100,000 customers out, or even a storm of 50,000 customers out, our first priority are road openings and wires down. So this frustrates folks who are not restoring customers. We're simply getting those hazards out of the way, getting roads open so the fire department, police department can travel, and so can folks get to work and whatnot. After that, we begin restoring critical customers. Those are sewer plants, municipal buildings, shelters, firehouses, hospitals, schools. And after that, we begin restoring, going from the largest number of customers that are out of power to the smaller outages. So on an event like that, where there's 250,000 customers out from that storm, it can take us a day or two before any customer involved really gets restored. But we have 5,600 trees and several thousand roads to close. So that's something that people, if they understand that in a major event like that, we're not going to put power back on for at least a couple days before we start, it certainly makes it a little easier to manage and understand the growth.
What else?
Thanks, Robert.
Robert, thank you.
Do we have something scheduled in July? I thought I saw something from you, Christine, that said we had a...
It wasn't a public meeting, but it was going to be kind of just a sit down to
One of the things I'd like to do
Q&A.
with newly elected officials is to sit down and sort of go over the circuit map for the municipality. That's not something we can share with the public. Sort of go over our storm process, give you as an elected official an idea of how the township, how the borough is served. So you have a better understanding when you see the outage notifications we send out, those 100 or more customer outages. Get sort of a sense of what's going on in your neighborhood and sort of talk about what we at JC can do for our elected officials. That was sort of the purpose of our meeting together. And again, we're happy to do any kind of public session as well.
For around here, a lot of the issues is old trees coming down on the wires. Is there any way we could coordinate with you guys in the town and somehow look at some of these trees in the right of way and start clearing them out? Because we know the next storm they're going to come down.
You are singing my song, Councilman. That is what we'd love to do. We are sort of limited in the scope of what we can trim. We can trim 15 foot around the wires, and we can trim 15 foot around the sky in the lockout zone. That's with the substation, the first device. So we'd be happy to work with you, borough, and look at trees that are in the right of way. We would recommend come down as hazard trees that we may not have the rights to remove. We have a resident who's unwilling to let us take down the tree. We'd be happy to do that, yes.
Okay.
All right, what else?
One last thing, as most of you probably recall, I was a mayor and councilman before I became a freeholder. The best part about leaving municipal government for county government was no more affordable housing. So, you know, my prayers are best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this part of the meeting, we're going to move on to our affordable housing presentations. I have to recuse myself, plus I did work with RPM Development Group, and I know I'm the owner for about 10 years, so I can't participate in this.
Okay, so
Council President.
Thank you.
Leo?
Okay, so why don't we first start? It looks like the first one up is Conifer. Your presentation.
RPM first.
Let me see what the agenda.
I just listed RFQ for housing, so there was no order on the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a problem with the order? We could do straws or whatever?
No, the order was already identified, yeah. We have them come in in 20-minute intervals.
Okay.
Okay, so who's going
So who
first?
wants to go first?
Okay, very
Okay,
good.
My name is Mike Knapp. I'm Senior Vice President of RPM Development. I have with me today Elizabeth Cullenich from RPM, Mike Hong from RPM, Keem Buzis from Glace Architecture and Engineering, and Aaron Pumo as well from Glace Architecture and Engineering. Elizabeth's going to speak about RPM development and our experience in New Jersey building affordable housing, and Keem will lead you through our concept that we had. We're very pleased to be here. Our founder, the president, Ed Martoglio, could not be here tonight. He's on vacation. But if he was in the country, he would be here. We're very proud of the work we do, and we'd love the opportunity to be part of your affordable housing solution here in Bernardsville. Elizabeth?
Hi, good evening. I'm just going to grab the mouse over there so I can get through the PowerPoint. And I was advised that standing over here might be the best thanks. So let me just see if this will work. Okay. So good evening. My name is Elizabeth Cullenich. I'm Vice President of Development with RPM Development Group. I've been with RPM for a bit over 6 years now, and prior to that I worked in the planning department for the Township of West Orange, also earning my Master's of City and Regional Planning degree from the Blasting School of Rutgers. And so tonight we're here to really try to talk to you and to give you an idea of how we can help you meet your affordable housing obligation. And to me, Bernardsville is a really special place. I actually come here at least once a year. I go to your flower farm on Claremont Avenue and our road. And also I know the Cross Estate Gardens is a really nice place. So, you know, when we were thinking about how to respond to this proposal, we really wanted to take into account the many community assets that you have here within the borough. You know, from your train station downtown to your vibrant downtown area, to just the history that you have, the rich history in the borough, and also to you know, your beautiful housing stock. So our proposal really wanted to be reflective of that, and we wanted to group together the small town charm of Bernardsville and also reflect the peaceful and the pastoral nature of the Somerset Hills area. But before I go into the proposal, I want to just briefly tell you about RPM Development Group. So yeah, RPM Development started in Essex County over 3 decades ago, and we have over 3,000 units of affordable housing. Affordable development. So since we started in Essex County, we have a sizable portion of our portfolio there, and we are leading developers in affordable housing throughout New Jersey. Since we work all over the state, but we are just New Jersey based. We have developments as far south as Atlantic City and Pleasantville, and as far north as Newton and Sussex County, and we're doing a lot of work currently in Monmouth County. We have 3 developments under construction there right now, and of course we have work in Somerset County as well, in Lower Somerset County, in Franklin Township, and in Hillsborough, and I'll be talking a little bit about that later today. And you know, RPM is a real estate group because we develop, we build, we lease, and we manage all of our units in-house. That really gives us the opportunity to you know, bring all aspects of the development process under one roof, and really gives us control of the process. What can RPM really bring to the table for you? And that's really our breadth of experience and our knowledge of the affordable housing industry. We have a track record of success in terms of receiving low-income housing tax credits, which is the main funding vehicle for affordable housing development. And we have a positive reputation with the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency, which is the state agency which administers the low-income housing tax credit program. So RPM, you know, we've worked over the years, over 3 decades, with many municipalities, state governments, local authorities, and also private lending institutions. And our strong relationship with private lending institutions gives us the ability to secure the most competitive interest rates on our developments. So for our construction and permanent loan financing, and also for when we go to sell and low-income housing tax credits, we consistently have the highest pricing for the tax credits. We also make sure to bring all available funding sources to the table. So, at the time of application, we make sure that we identify and seek whether it's county funds. We often apply for Federal Home Loan Bank of New York, their affordable housing program funding there as well. So that really makes the application more competitive in the eyes of the state. So it's a real benefit to the project. And just in terms of what RPM, how we can be of value to you, is we can walk you through the process of seeking low-income housing tax credits and getting your municipally sponsored 100% affordable development financed. So it's, we have the ability to be flexible and to work with you to really help craft the strategy to meet your obligation. We can provide you guidance through the process. It's a challenging process, and it's changing with the new administration. There may be some changes to the program coming up for the next cycle, so that's something that we're paying close attention to, and we can help you kind of guide you through that and craft the best applications for your developments here in town. Looking forward to
I just got a text.
RPM contracting. We have an in-house contractor, and that allows us to build quality and sustainable development. We use high-quality materials and energy-efficient appliances that really stand the test of time. It's something that's important to us. And the primary advantage to having an in-house contractor is that we're able to directly oversee our costs and the quality and the project schedule to make sure that all of our projects are on time, on budget, and get executed in an expeditious manner. So Ed Martoglio, who wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't, he actually oversees development. He's also integrally a part
The
of
whole thing of it, understand.
contracting. RPM, sorry. That's right. Talking loud?
We have a live feed, and
Oh,
I
okay.
got texts from people
I
saying
can try to
they.
be louder.
No, that's what this is
I need a
for.
microphone.
The thing online too.
Okay.
Maybe it's something to that.
Okay. So I was just telling you about RPM contracting, and the benefits of it having an in-house contractor is that we're able to directly oversee the costs and the process and make sure that the project's on schedule. And Ed Martoglio, who's the head of the company, he actually directly oversees that process. He makes sure that all the projects run seamlessly from development to contracting to leasing and to management. And he attends all of our construction meetings, and we invite the town to attend any of our construction meetings. We're an open book, so we're happy to collaborate with you in that process as well. And the next one, the project goes to leasing. There we go. So we have our own in-house residential leasing team, and this really gives us the advantage too, because we can craft our own tenant leasing policy, residential leasing policy, and we have a zero tolerance policy for violations. So we're very cognizant of, we want to make sure that our developments are great places to live. So we pay attention to that. And we're also very fast to evict if there's any issues that come up in any of our buildings. And having an in-house residential leasing department also allows us to be compliant with all of the state fair housing requirements for affordable housing. And going on to management, our portfolio-wide vacancy rate is between 2 to 3%, and that's really a testament to our property management team. Each development has a live-in superintendent that's there on site, and also a regional property manager that looks over the site, and that's there at the site 2 to 3 times a week. And if any issue comes up, we address it promptly, and the super knows about it, the manager knows about it, and it's something that we're very responsive to And we just want to create a very pleasant place to live, and we want to be good neighbors. A big part of our property management department is our social service program that we run. We have a director of social services on staff with 8 social workers that develop a social service program that's catered to each specific development. And some of the services that we provide are case management. So if any of our residents want to speak one-to-one with a case social service worker, they have the opportunity to do that. We also provide youth empowerment and mentorship programs where we'll have group workshops on conflict resolution, or we do homework help or college preparation for some of the kids, and we do more fun stuff, fun activities like arts and crafts, and we have movie nights, and we celebrate holidays, things like that. And we also provide medical services and screenings free of charge in all of our buildings. So whether it's a doctor coming in to do an eye exam, or any flu shots or anything like that, we provide that on site as well. And a big part of our program is to have preventative care recreational programs like yoga and Zumba, or we do nutrition classes, or stress management. And what we really like to focus and to give our residents a leg up is to have job training programs and employment opportunities. So we have computer labs in all of our buildings where we do resume workshops, or you can apply for jobs, or we do computer skills training. And we also provide seminars on how to budget and tax preparation. So we want to make sure that our residents get everything that they can out of living in our developments. So that's a big part of our program. And before we go on to the project proposal, I just wanted to show you some of our work. So we have, here is Parkside Village. This is a redevelopment project in Franklin Township in Somerset County. And we've actually completed 5 developments in Franklin Township. And we have our 6th that's funded. It should be built soon. And this was an old housing authority site where we came and we partnered with the housing authority, and we took down some of the dilapidated housing that they had, and we built 2 phases, one senior and one family. And the family phase was in 35 two-family buildings with duplex styles. It was very low density, and the senior phase was a multi-family building with 70 age-restricted units. And let me see, right down the road, you have West End Place, which is in Hillsborough. And here the town also wanted to meet their affordable housing obligation. We came in and through working with them, developed this concept for 2 multifamily buildings, but they wanted something low density, so we did 2 stories, and it really has a feel of townhouses. This project's a little bit different because it's a supported housing project and set aside for the individuals with mental disabilities here. And this just opened in January, and we are currently fully leased up there.
You have 10 more minutes.
Okay, just one more. This is Community Center. It's a downtown redevelopment effort, and also the town wanted to see some revitalization in their downtown, and we assembled some sites there and were able to build this townhouse-style development, multifamily building. But if they wanted some retail, it was really more of a downtown location. And we just had the opening for this building earlier this month. So that's Newton. And all of our developments are actually, the ones that are featured here, were built in coordination with Inglaze Architecture and Engineering. They're our long-standing partner. We've worked with them for many, many years now. And Joaquin Luzes is here tonight, and he's going to walk us through the concept that we prepared for you. And it's, Joaquin can speak more to it, but it's 71 units spread over the 4 sites that you identified in your RFQ of various scales. And this is, what I want to stress before Joaquin talks is that this is really just an initial proposal, and, you know, we're here to kind of get feedback from you, and this is just the starting point for us to go forward. And I know there was discussion of a potential other site that could be brought in, and we did look at that site as well, so can you talk about that a little bit, and then we can take any questions that you may have.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you again for having us here. So I'll go through just our company. We've been in business for over 30 years. We're a full-service firm. We handle architecture, engineering, interior design, everything that covers the building of a building, the designing of a building. We have 26 employees, architects, engineers, and designers. We've been in business, well, as I said, 30 years, and we've been working with RPM for 20 years. We've received numerous awards with them, at least 8 New Jersey Governor's Awards on housing and economic development, at least 5 Smart Growth Awards for New Jersey Future with them, and multiple LEED Platinum buildings and Energy Star buildings. This is the project that Elizabeth was describing, Parkside. It's the senior building on the left, and 2 family houses on the right. This is just showing you smaller scale craftsman style designs that we've done. This is in Essex County. That one previous was in Bergen County. This one is also in Bergen County, 2-unit with retail on the ground floor. This one is in Somerset. And going to the sites that we have, this one is on Mine Brook Road. This is the site. We went to visit the site. It's pretty steeply graded to the back. This design covers the entire property almost, except for a large landscape area at the front, fronting the street. As you can see on the right, we have a drive aisle that comes into the back and basically concealing all the parking. That one we have 50 parking spaces. This one is 26 units. And so the building is 2.5 stories. And so 2 stories from the road, covering the parking in the back. This is showing the unit types. So the ground floor, the second floor with all the units, and then the top floor within the attic areas. This one's on Findlay Avenue. This one is 27 units, 51 parking spaces. We designed this one in a way that, as you can see, it's 27 units, so we've only fronted 5 units fronting the street. So it looks like a smaller scale building, more in line with the context of the neighborhood. And again, this is, we have a drop-off area at the front of the building and a drive aisle that brings you underneath the building, concealing the parking all in the middle. The goal was to let the design speak for itself and concealing all the parking that was required, which meets the RISA's, the Residential Site Improvement Standard requirements of average of 2 spaces per unit of parking. This is the unit layout. So again, you can see the parking in the middle, and the units wrap around that core.
This is the senior
And that's
design building.
correct. That's a senior design building. Hence the drop off at the front for any pickup or drop off off there. This is Pine Street. This is 2 6-unit buildings. Again, this was designed with the context in mind. And so we've broken up into 2 smaller buildings rather than a larger one. And again, the parking in the back with the drive aisles at the front, and a nice landscaped area fronting Pine Street.
Sir, I hate to interrupt you. 5 minutes?
Sure. No
Thank
problem.
you.
This is the layout with the units and the parking in the back. And then this is 7 Childs Road. And again, this one has the pump station on the top left-hand corner. You drive underneath the building. This is easier on the site plan. Drive underneath the building, parking, And then this one is the 6 units with the 12 parking spaces in the back. This is the design of the concept. Mine Brook Road, this is the longer building. As you can see, we used, it's a modern farmhouse design, simple materials, durable materials, stone in accents to bring it, to make those bays really stand out. Some detail over the entrance for the canopies with a standing seam metal roof. Some overhangs, fiber cement siding. We believe it's a language that you have in town that goes well with the town and would really nicely fit in. And then the last one, which is Pine Street, and this one looks like a large building, but this is the 2 6-unit types where the 2 windows meet in the middle. That's where they're kind of broken, but the perspective makes it look like it's one. But it's the 2 smaller buildings that again fit nicely into the context, 2.5 stories. The windows on the 2nd floor with the overhang and landscaping in front, and that's basically the design.
What's the proposed material that you'd use if it wasn't stone, like for the siding? You mentioned it's a durable, what is it?
Fiber cement siding.
Okay.
Fiber cement. Yeah. We find that lasts, it's got a like 20-year lifespan on it.
It's already pigmented, it's not something you paint?
Correct. It comes already pre-painted. Yes. Any questions?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have
CIS.
CIS.
Okay, well, if you don't have any questions, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't need,
We don't need any.
can you shut that? Can you shut the room?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's usually how. Yeah.
I know you're on a tight timeline, so I'm gonna try to keep you on time.
Okay, so I'll just let you know in a 10-minute mark and a 5-minute mark.
Okay.
To help you along.
Good evening. I'm Chris Folio. I'm the president and owner of Community Investment Strategies. We're an affordable housing
Thank you.
developer. I've been in the business for 35 years. We have 3,500 units in New Jersey.
Thank you.
I have served about half of my career on your side of the table in government. I had the pleasure of serving under 3 governors on both sides of the aisle. And I served as the, please don't throw anything at me, the chair of POA. I was the chair of the State Planning Commission and the head of the HMFA. So I've kind of lived and breathed this for quite a while. I like to say it was during the kinder, gentler COA days. But the company has been formed, and the name means something to me, in that it's investing in communities. We are not a developer that has ever sued a town, and we try to only come to towns that invite us. So the idea is that we don't believe that there is a method that fits every town, or architecture that fits any town, or a building type that fits every town. And as I just gave you my little background of 35 years, I have to say, when we saw this RFP, and it's probably why I was so excited to come here tonight, I think you are raising the bar. I live in Princeton. 2 weeks ago, I was at our
town meeting. You never build where you live, but I was asked to participate in our dialogue, and I used you as an example. I said, there's a town that's changing how to do affordable housing. There have been many towns who have taken what I think is the easy way out. Get a big piece of ground, zone it, do inclusionary, end of story. You didn't do that. And whether you pick me or you pick one of the other developers, and look, we all have the same basket of tools in the bag, and they're all qualified people. But what makes us excited is that you're doing it differently. You're really changing the game, and we'd like to be part of it, because I think there's a unique opportunity here. You know, your housing stock is different. This community has been built over a long time. You have been inclusionary for so long, because I have friends here, and my friends are at all different levels of income brackets, and have always called this place home. And so it's a place that I've always known that people have felt comfortable raising families. And I think your plan shows that. And I think the style of housing that you're calling for really just fits who you are. And it's so refreshing to see a town take it and do something well with it. So, bravo. For us, we have tried, we're not going to put up every project that we've done, because I think the idea here is to do the projects that you feel fit well. But I can tell you that if you look at our credentials that we've submitted, there's nothing in your package that we have not built. From small scale projects in Cape May, which look like little houses and that have a multitude of units, to some of the larger 18-unit buildings, and that we picked a partner in architecture who hopefully I've saved enough time that you at least get to meet, who we feel can meet the expectations of your architectural plan, and that's Tom Barton. Barbara Shore, who's a partner in our firm, really drives the methodology of our program. And as you heard from the first presentation from RPM, the game is the tax credits. You need teams that know how to put that package together. We all know that that is a very competitive process and that the game is changing. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I did chair the transition team for housing with the new governor. I think that we will see major changes in the points. I'm hoping, and I'm an advocate, that the new plans should not put the burden of the finances on local municipalities. That we should be finding vehicles that make it a little fairer to municipalities that have stepped up, and the point system should reflect that. I feel that it has been skewed to say that the points go for the towns that are putting more money into the project, whether it's free land and a lower pilot and a variety of other things that make the burden shift. I don't know that that was really the original intent. I served as a staffer to the legislature when the Fair Housing Act was enacted, and it was not to be a financial burden on local municipal financing. So I think the state has some play here, and I'm hopeful that there are willing ears finally in Trenton, and at least I hope to be a voice that starts to level the playing field so that affordable housing can be what it's supposed to be, which is a balance of incomes, and not always forcing it to be the lowest of the low, and then creating more of a gap that constantly needs more subsidy to make it work. The good news is, just in case somebody doesn't mention it in some of the other presentations, even HUD is getting a little bit more realistic in what this program is offering. Recently, the rules have changed where there's income averaging, which actually allows people earning up to 80% of median income to now participate in this program, where it had been capped at 60% of median income. We don't know how the state is going to play with these new rules, but it does show that the working population that needs housing is broader than just based on 60% of median. So I think there's opportunities as you develop this plan, you will see the state developing their plan too. Hopefully we'll all meet and you'll have a good plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Barbara at this point, and I'll stick around for questions.
Thank you.
I'm Barbara Shore. I'm Vice President with Community Investment Strategies, and was an integral part of putting together the submission that you received. And like Chris said, as you're developing your plan, I really looked at what you had as a work in progress, and we didn't design anything specific for each individual site. There's a lot more study that needs to be done, and to get into conversation with you and your planners and your engineers about really understanding more what your vision is. We know where it's going, but we don't really know what your vision is. So we've thought that we would be flexible. We've shown you a variety of architectural products and styles that can fit on the sites. Anything from the presentation of the large house that mimics and plays upon some of the varied architectural elements that we find in the neighborhoods around town where the sites are located, to larger buildings like you might see here across the street. I think the selection of the added site is very complementary. I think that something can be easily done that is in close relation to the look and the feel and the scale of those homes that were recently constructed there. So I think that was really a nice choice and a nice addition to the selection. We understand the site that's set aside for the age restricted. That's probably a site that lends itself more to a large scale home. And you may be familiar with Sunrise Senior Living, and you know how they've adapted that type of Victorian architectural style that's appropriate for that aging population. So there's definitely different options. In the financial package that we submitted, when we evaluated the different sites and found that the yield could be as high as 100 homes on the sites that you selected, we understand that your obligation is really only 50 from these sites. We picked a number kind of in between just to give you a sense and a feel for what financially that would look like. Feeling very comfortable that something more than your minimum can easily be accommodated, but not really pushing everything to the maximum until we understand more of the parameters of what your vision is and how these new homes will fit into the existing neighborhoods. So that's about the particulars.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd be glad to add. My name is Tom Barton. I'm with TCB3 Consultants. We've done architectural work, planning work for CIS for, up to 20 years. I can't remember how many projects, but and I've been involved since I got out of college in a variety of housing types, but more particularly a lot of affordable housing projects, from small scale scattered lot projects. I've done a number of them very similar to what you're doing here, to larger scale senior buildings up to 100 units, that kind of thing. But again, the scale we're looking at here is much smaller. I think that my job is to, first and foremost, to listen to what the community is looking for, what the community's goals are. Obviously, my client's goals and the goals of the state, as well as other players, particularly financial players, and how they'll impact the design are very important. But I think that where we start is by listening, and I think that what that leads to is trying to come up with buildings of a scale, proportion, yield that allow you to create homes that fit housing for these affordable clients that fit within the context of the communities they'll be put in. So in other words, there's a number of neighborhoods where that you've chosen these lots in, and each one has its unique characteristics, as well as there's an overriding, so it's a very eclectic sort of character for the community in its whole. And I think we'll try to pick and styles of architecture, and it will vary from neighborhood to neighborhood, though the architecture will be pretty consistent from an interior perspective, but exterior I see a lot of variety in this project, again, to tie into the local neighborhood. And then I think the other thing that's really important is that
we've done some analysis on each of the lots, and the numbers are that we can get on the lots without pushing the lots very hard are higher than currently what we base the financials on. But again, I want to hear what your goals are, because those goals may be different than what the physical yield potential provides for. And the only thing I also want to add is that one of the things that we felt is an important precedent for all the designs here, except for the seniors, is that each unit have its own front door, its own entry on grade, so that there's no common spaces in the buildings. There's clear delineation of public, private, and private space. There's no question about whether you belong or don't belong in my neighborhood. And it's a lifestyle, it's a living style that's very similar to your residents in general. Everybody knows whose their front door is, everybody has eyes to the street and controls their personal space. So I think those are very important precepts for any design that we do. With the seniors, it's about more central control and providing for a level of security. It's a little different criteria that we look at there, because again, we're dealing with a different population. So I hope I've given you a sense of some of the things we're thinking about. And
I'll sum up.
great.
So in closing, I just wanted to give you the organizational structure of CIS. We are an integrated firm. We are a developer, contractor, and management company. So we do control the process from start to finish. Therefore, we can control our costs, our delivery dates, as well as our management. We have a full-service, complimentary, what I would call a quality of life program, which also, it was hard not to overhear, and I don't want to repeat it, but very similar to the other programs that you'll hear from the developers. We all have them because you get points for them in the low-income housing tax credit program, so you must provide quality of life enhancement services, and we do that too. Just to kind of highlight some of the programs that we do, for example, we do a reading program in the summer. I don't know about you, but my daughter never wants to read the reading list in the summer, and in order to make sure that children in our program, we get the books that are on the reading list. If they finish 3 books over the summer, we get everybody a Kindle with 100 books loaded on it if they complete the 3 books that are on their list. So we try to make sure that kids don't slide back, that they are competing with the rest of their class, that they have the support systems so that they feel that they're a part of the community and that they have the support systems to make them feel good about being in this community and part of the school. So those are the kinds of things that we make sure we're bringing, not just a home, but that we're wrapping around this family so that they become part of the community, feel part of the community, and want to engage as a productive member of the community. We think that that's as important as what houses look like. So that's our presentation, and we're open for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have time on the table?
You have a few minutes left. Our last presenter?
I'll be right in.
Come on in.
Thank you.
I get to say and listen to yours now?
also has taken a minute. It's not too awkward with the towel behind in the back. This is the part where we've got a little performance dance piece that we're working on the other room, so if you just follow up on one thing.
Do you want us to get started and then get our pretty tight schedule?
Yeah, sure.
I'm Charles Lewis, I'm Senior Vice President of Conifer Realty. With me is Michael Handerhan and George Hibbs from Clark Hayden Ince, our architects, and Mike Ford from Van Cleef Engineering, which is our engineering firm. I thought what I'd do is talk to you just a little bit about who Conifer is and our experience. And I have a number of slides, and I have a whole lot of them, but I just want to want you to see what we've built in the past and get kind of a feel for what we do. And I think I'll give you an opportunity to get some sense. We've not had the opportunity to have any kind of interaction with you in terms of what you want, so we're going to throw out some ideas. These are just really first rough drafts of everything. George will talk a little bit about what they are. But basically, Conifer Realty is an affordable housing developer, contractor, and management company. We've been in existence for over 40 years. During that time, we've developed over 14,000 apartments in 5 states. We're active in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Maryland.
Where are you located?
Our main office is in Rochester, New York. I work out of our Mount Laurel, New Jersey office. We have a development team of 5 people there, and that's my base of operations. Affordable Housing Finance Magazine, which is the trade journal for the affordable housing industry, has named this one of the top 50 affordable housing developers every year since they started maintaining the list in 2007. This year we came in at number 13. We also have a property management company. We manage everything that we build, and our business model is to continue to own and operate everything that we build. So the developments that we started with 40 years ago, we still pretty much have. The only time we ever sold properties was at one point we merged with another company, and when we unmerged, we sold a few things, we bought a few things, and we did sell a property in connection with the retirement of the partner. Both our development company and management company won numerous awards. We've won the Governor's Excellence in Housing Award multiple times. We've won the New Jersey Smart Growth Award 3 times. We've won Clean Energy Leadership Award from the Board of Public Utilities. You have anything luck with that?
I switched to my laptop. Hey, Charlie. Sorry. God only knows what's going to come up now.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to do is to show you some examples of some of the work that we've done. But I guess just to talk generally, we do build apartments, and we have a couple basic concepts. We want the apartments to feel like homes. So typically, well, in every development we have, everyone will have their own individual entrance, at least with the family development. The senior developments, we do have common hallways. But anything that's not age restricted, we want private entrances, no kind of public space, because that's where you have issues with poor behavior, maintenance, because people are coming in and out. You want people to have some sense of ownership. If we ever get to the pictures, we do also like to have patios or balconies on all of our properties. And the idea there is that it gives people some additional outdoor space, and additional living space. And also from a community standpoint, when people are out on the porches, kids kind of behave themselves, people get to know their neighbors, so it makes for a much stronger sense of community. I did just want to mention a couple things that relate to meeting your affordable housing obligation. You'll notice when we ever do get to the pictures that you'll see a lot of the units are 3 stories. And the reason for that is for you to count a unit towards your affordable housing obligation. The first floor has to be fully accessible to a person with disabilities, physical disabilities, or it has to be adaptable, which means you have the proper turning radius in each room, you have the wide doorways, but you can easily convert it in a day or two to a fully accessible apartment. So typically, our typical product is a flat on the first floor, so it's everything on one floor, the living room, dining room, kitchen, bedrooms, and then a townhouse on top of that. And I will show you some product where we actually have what are called stacked flats, where it's one flat, everything on the floor, and another on top of that. And then there's a third type where it's a traditional townhouse with the living room, dining room, kitchen on the first floor, and bedrooms on the second floor. We add a bedroom to the rear of the first floor, and that's to allow for a fully accessible bedroom. So, I don't know, George, if you can...
Well, I think a couple of things I just wanted to touch on. With regard to our relationship, that in terms of your particular project, the team that you are seeing here, it's not a first-time team. This is a team that Charlie and I have known each other for 25 years. We developed a lot of projects together. When Charlie became president of Conifer, that's when I was given a call. And so for the last 5 years, we've developed a project per year together. So we've developed over 350 units together just in the last 5 years.
How many of those are in New Jersey?
All in New Jersey.
Okay.
In fact, we have over 3,400 units in New Jersey.
Okay.
So Charlie's got over 3,400 units. We've designed over 4,000 units. So I think just to sort of set the bar, set the baseline in terms of, yeah, you know, these teams have the experience, we've got the experience. But it's really about you, and it's really about Bernardsville. So whenever we look at a project, this project is going to be different than anything, even if we could show you pictures, it's going to be different than anything that we would show you because it's your project. So what we do is we really try to make projects that are specific to your needs, specific to the place. And then with this particular project, it's not about one place. It's not about one building. This is about multiple places, right? This is about what does each one of these buildings, what is this, and these are homes, these aren't buildings, right? This is going to be my grandmother's home. This is going to be, you know, his brother's home. This is going to be something that's very personal and particular to each person that lives here. But because you live in a beautiful community, it raises the bar that much more, right? That it raises the bar to a level that you'll see that we absolutely meet that. And we meet all of the requirements for wonderful places to live. But to do it in this particular neighborhood, in this particular town, is something that it hasn't been done because it's going to be done for you.
Maybe I can address one issue. I know that the RFP talked about perhaps doing a single building and having, maybe it's set up for seniors and but not age restricted. The idea that maybe it attracts seniors. And we had suggested you could do that, but suggested that maybe perhaps you do basically look at two developments. One would be a senior development where it would be age restricted, and another would be a family development. And I thought it was on the Finley Avenue side. We could do the senior, or we could do the family and do the family on the other sites. The one problem with the single building concept is if it's not age restricted, then when we go for the tax credits, it's considered a family development. And the tax credits are what we need in order to develop, to get the financing for the site. In order to get the tax credits, 25% of the units have to be 3-bedroom. So right off the bat, you're looking at 25% of the units being 3-bedroom, which doesn't lend itself to seniors, lends itself to families. And then under the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls, UHAC, typically, as a general rule, no more than 20% of the units can be 1-bedroom. So if you're trying to do a building that has a lot of 1-bedrooms, that's going to be an issue, unless you have, in other sites or other projects, have a lot of 3-bedroom units. So, you know, we're willing to take a look at that concept, but I think that trying to get a building that attracts seniors and is built for seniors, but it's not age restricted, I think could be an issue.
Are you saying that the bedroom requirements don't apply if it's a senior?
If it's senior
age restricted, the bedroom.
That when 90% of the financing comes from the tax credits. When they give out the tax credits, they divide it into senior and family. And with the senior, there's no requirement to give anything other than 1-bedroom units. But if you do the family side, there's like 8 points, which you get 25% of the apartments are 3-bedroom. And typically you need a perfect score, maybe 1 point off a perfect score. So if you don't meet that 3-bedroom requirement, you're generally dead in the water.
Got it.
One thing that sets us apart in terms of sort of the product type or what our previous experience has been is that my firm has actually designed work in town. So the Pine Ridge housing complex, which is directly adjacent to one of your sites, is a project that my firm did so many years ago. So hopefully that has played well, and that is not a red mark but a green check in our column. So it's something to discuss.
It predated your time there, though.
Barely. I've actually been with the firm for almost 30 years.
Yes, you have 10 minutes. Pressure's on.
Sure, something to be said for the old boards. I've never had a problem getting them to work.
But at least in terms of I think what you can see is in the proposals that we submitted, we did take a look and we did do sketch layouts, right? So at least in terms of, we took a look at the sites, we took a look at what differentiates each of the sites outside of sort of the physical nature and their location and how and the sites are very different, right? But we also took a look at then the parameters of the site. You've got steep slopes on 2 of the sites. So when you take a look at it from just an overall area perspective and you do a quick calculation, it looks like this is a pretty big number that can be generated. However, once you actually take a look here and you see some of these slopes and the issues with retaining walls, the issues with stormwater, they're not quite as simple, as simplistic and rectangular as one might imagine at first blush. So that's something that when we took a look at our layouts, but I think you could see that we generated some numbers that were conducive to what you were looking for. So we met those requirements, and I think the way in which we met those requirements, again, is open for discussion in terms of what you want each of these sites, how you want each of these sites to be developed. This camel walks into a bar, and the bartender says,
If you don't mind, just very quickly. Okay, that's already talked to you now. I should mention, Conifer Management Company is an accredited management company. This is a special accreditation by the Institute of Real Estate Management. It involves an examination of your financial records, your accounting systems, and the experience of your staff. And if you're accepted and accredited, you do have to adhere to a higher standard of ethics. There are only 500 management companies nationwide that have this accreditation, and we're only one of 3 affordable housing developers and managers in New Jersey that has the accreditation. Just want to just quickly walk through. This is a development, Riverfront Village in Pennsauken. This won the Governor's Excellence in Housing Award last year. This is one of the 3-story models. I had put this in just to show you the porches and the patios in the rear, again, to give people some additional living space, but also additional sense of community and eyes on the community. This is a job, Gateway at Somerdale. This actually won the New Jersey Future Smart Growth Award in 2011. It was part of an overall development of a former shopping center. And this was unique in that one of our competitors actually had this, couldn't get it done, was going to turn the credits back in, and the town came to us. And within 90 days of their saying this project couldn't be done and they're walking away from it, we had it under construction. This is a 2-story model. This is a job in Evesham. This is kind of typical of New Jersey. It's a 45-acre site, but with wetlands and buffers and everything. Only about 14 acres of it were developable, so we did 104 units. This also won the Governor's Excellence in Housing Award. This is Riviera Run in Gloucester Township. It's another deal where another developer had it, couldn't get it done. Town came to us and we were able to complete it. This is Meadowlark Run. Much different look. This is in Cape May County, which, if you're familiar with it, a lot of the original buildings are Victorian, so we kind of took some of the gingerbread and a few of the elements there and added them to the units. We actually did 2 developments in Middle Township, one in the other one in the Rio Grande section, this one in the Cape May Courthouse section. And this is a 2-story model, but again, George had mentioned that we work very closely with the town in terms of what we want the buildings to look like. This we actually worked with an architectural committee, had been set up by the township committee, and we presented our plans, we talked to them, and we added things, modified things at their suggestion. I'd like to take credit for the other ones who came up with the idea of like 4 different colors on each building, which I think adds a lot of interest and a lot of depth. Even though it wasn't my idea, it was a great one. Okay, George and I were talking in preparation for this that there's a lot of stone in houses, decorating the houses in town. I've not done anything in New Jersey because most of our towns, it's the bricks and siding towns, but we've done things in Maryland and a couple of developments where we had stone as the primary outside decoration. And it's such a, you're not seeing all the same building types. We'll do different types depending on where we are and depending on what fits. Just quickly, I know one of the sites is in an historic district. This is a development we did in Medford. Even though it was new construction, it was in an historic district, so we had to work with the township's Historic Preservation Committee in the design. So we came up with something that picks up elements of the historic district without actually trying to exactly replicate it. And this was actually a finalist in the Affordable Housing Finance Magazine Senior Development of the Year, or one of the top 4. This is a development we did in Egg Harbor City. This is actually downtown. This is Linden Lake. This is the redevelopment of actually it was an old sewer plant. We came in, cleaned all that up, and built a senior development. And you can see the solar panels there. This is one of our first green developments. We used all sorts of recycled products, high efficiency equipment, air conditioning, added insulation, recycled products. And this was the development for which we won the Clean Energy Leadership Award. This is Chestnut Station. It's a little different. This is in a small town right in this downtown, so we wanted something that looked maybe a little bit more urban. Again, might not fit here, but it was something that fit really well there. And then typically with our family developments, we have a separate community building. In our senior developments, we have a community room, and that's typically for use by the residents. We have a management office, laundry facilities, typically an exercise room, a computer room. And in our senior developments, we typically have a medical examination room. What we found from our residents is that we'll do surveys of what they want, what they need, that medical care is one of the most important elements. So we typically make some sort of arrangement with a local hospital to provide a visiting nurse, visiting physicians, and we make the space available for them at no charge. And just some of the amenities. This is an historic development we did in Florence, New Jersey. It's an old gymnasium. We converted it into a community room.
5 minutes, guys.
Just another example of some stone on a building. And at this point, I will turn it over to George. These are just some of the amenities in our community rooms. And that's another historic school we did. And we made a feature out of the retention pond. We put a fountain in it, which, in addition to looking pretty, keeps it clear of algae, and put a little gazebo for the use of the residents. I'm sorry, George, I'll turn it over to you.
No, I think you were doing great, Joe. I think, you know, down there, up there, this one. These are just a couple of additional, and again, in terms of the developments with Charlie, it's the backs are just as beautiful as the fronts. In a lot of ways, it's important that, you know, you're going to be utilizing these spaces, your families, you're going to be in the backyards. You want them to look just as nice, that there's no different. Typically, in a lot of developments today, as soon as you turn the corner, as you know, it's like you see development houses and then you turn the corner and the thing looks completely different, and that's really not the case. That as much care and time has been taken into the backs and making them just as special. Again, as Charlie mentioned, the clubhouses, this is a project that we were the designers, but not the architects of record with CIS. And this is the Pine Ridge Housing Project that I wanted to show you, that hopefully one that you're familiar with, and that was successful for the town and is directly adjacent to one of the sites. And this was just a site diagram that showed the overall site in terms of the congregation of the different sites, and again, how they're equidistant from the train station, from this center of town, from this real loci in the entire Bernardsville. And how it's important that we're talking about affordable housing. It's important. This is housing, okay? Yes, we call it affordable. Yes, we call it senior. This is going to be someone's home. So when we take labels off of things, you want it to look like, hey, there's that new development that we just reviewed and approved and was built. That looks great. That looks better than the market rate that X so-and-so did. So I think once the labels are stripped away, you really have the potential to do some wonderful things here. And these are just some of the sketch plans where we took the layouts, we thought about numbers, we thought about ways in which you can access the site, we thought about the issues of steep slopes and retaining walls, we thought about how we were directly adjacent to other sites, the scale of some things, how parking may shift forward or backward in terms of adjacencies to commercial uses and to residential uses. The senior building, how the senior building has lots of different ways in which it could be developed in terms of, and parking drives a lot of this. If there's some leeway with regard to the number of parking spaces and adjacencies, if there's a way that we can have more space with regard to architectural layout, site features than parking, that opens up quite a few things in terms of the overall site layout, its adjacency to the road, its frontage, what does one see, the communal spaces, how one enters, all thought about. And again, this is just in sketch form. But But at the end of the day, this was sort of a slide that I just wanted to present. I wanted to show you that there are these beautiful spaces in town. There are these wonderful buildings that this is special and specific to Bernardsville. And that there are those places that in your memory, you know that this is my town, this is home. And if there are some of these elements that can be brought into our development, into our project, that make it fit, that this is a particular puzzle piece that wants to fit in the overall development, that's what our plan is.
Thank you. Any question, guys? No? Thank you all for your presentations. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Apologize for the technical.
That's fine.
It was all part of the plan, actually, just to distract.
You guys did good out.
All right, moving on to open session. At this point in the meeting, the mayor and council welcome comments from any member of the public to help facilitate an orderly meeting and permit the
we need approval of minutes.
Approval of minutes, okay. Approval of minutes. April 23rd, 2018, Mr. Schmidt was absent. May 14th, 2018. Any changes to the minutes, gentlemen?
No. I'll move.
All right.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Cleo, second by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The ayes have it. All right, we'll go to open session again. At this point in the meeting, the mayor and council welcome comments from any member of the public. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and permit the opportunity for anyone who wishes to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 5 minutes. If reading from a prepared statement, please provide a copy and email a copy to the clerk's office after making your comments so it may be properly reflected in the minutes. Anyone from the public? Yes, Mayor? You got it first. You're quicker.
Mary Jane Snows, Mine Brook Road. I wanted to thank you. Sorry. I wanted to thank you again for acting on the parking on Claremont, and I was just wondering if you know when that's going to be enforced. Will people park past the culvert?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know exactly when. The chief was, we were just talking about it the other day. Have you heard anything, John?
Yes, the county just certified our ordinance. The posts are on order, the mark out has been ordered, so it will be within the next week or two, I believe.
Excellent, great,
There you
thank
go.
you.
Thanks, Ron. Cynthia, you're next. And Ryan, you had your hand up? Okay.
Cynthia Meanwell, 50 Mountain Top Road in Bernardsville. I think this is all great. It's very exciting. I just had a couple questions. In trying to read the settlement agreement, it's a little bit complicated, and I'm not quite sure what kinds. I understand the scattered plots and the different locations, but I'm not sure if it's going to be 1, 2-bedroom, multi-bedroom, if there's any design proposals or expectations about this. So can you answer that question, or is there a place to find that on the website or something?
It's going to wind up being mixed. That's why we brought the developers, and they give us proposals, and they all mentioned 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. It will be all affordable housing, and that's why we had them come tonight to get an idea of designs that they would recommend for Bernardsville.
And units mean a single-family home? Units don't mean bedrooms, correct?
Well, no, units could mean a home with 6 separate entrances, and they could be all single-family or 2-family, whatever they may be.
All right, so there's no definite proposal then or idea about how many bedrooms at this point?
So I wrote down what I heard the gentleman from Conifer said, that in order for them to meet the requirements for tax credits, which they need a perfect score on, they would have a maximum of 20% be 1-bedroom and a minimum of 25% be 3-bedroom.
I see, 20% 1-bedroom.
Maximum 20% 1-bedroom and a minimum of 25% 3-bedrooms.
Okay,
The rest obviously would be 2 bedrooms.
That would be for single building?
That would be for, the way I interpreted what they said was that across the family units, the designated family units, this criteria would
So
would
multiple
apply.
buildings, making
So
an
it seems like it would be
ratio.
across all the buildings, and the only ones that would be outside of that requirement would be the senior or age-restricted housing, which could be a majority or even exclusively 1 bedroom.
In addition to the tax credit requirements, there were also code rules dealing with the allocation of units among 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, and those are reflected in the settlement agreement as well. But they're identical to the tax.
So they're consistent with the, okay.
And just for my edification, tax credits provide all the funding for these, or?
Tax credits will, if you look at their financials, you'll see the tax credits provide the bulk of the
You
financials.
said 90% is the number I heard.
Yeah, there's a lot. And then in addition, some will be contributions of our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, infrastructure improvements. So there are various sources, and as one of the presenters said, they also apply for other grants and loan programs.
And you also wind up with outside investors. PNC is a large investor. Bank of America has been investing a lot lately. So you wind up with outside investors. So
Jeff, do they have to line up the funding, or can they do it? Is it common for them to, say, use their own working capital and build the structure and then wait for the tax credits to come through?
I defer to Randy, but I don't think they do anything unless they have the funding in place.
no, you're getting the tax credits and everything in place before.
Would there be any recourse by chance to our tax base, or is it, purely on the shoulders of the developer and selling tax credits and?
Generally, Randy Gottesman, I'm your affordable housing planner. Generally, it's completely on the developer, and we have set up in your spending plan a certain budget to help facilitate this project, because there always tends to be some gap. I thought that was a little high, that one person said they get 90% of the money from the tax credit. But whatever it is, there's always a gap. And like Jack said, they will be applying for the Federal Reserve Bank has a grant program. It's modest, $7,000, $10,000 a unit, but over 50 or 70 units, that adds up. And then they'll apply for some other funds. Some of them apply to foundations as well. But this is not intended to come from the general fund of the municipality. There are some caveats to that statement, but that would not be the plan or the intent. And so before the Borough Council were to proceed, we all want to be sure that the numbers look good and workable,
So they wouldn't bridge themselves?
I think I read in the Conifer proposal that they said something about them having such deep pockets that they could do some things, but I don't remember the exact, how far they would go. But that's not general practice.
Isn't there a long lead time to get the tax credits and the financing?
It's a once-a-year application. We are not recommending, we did not put in the RFP that we helped the borough prepare, we did not suggest that anyone selected would be applying in 2018, which is generally July, August. That's just not realistic. A couple properties have to be acquired, they have to do their due diligence, engineering, and everything else. They could put the application together in a month or two, but there's a lot of work that precedes that. So the idea is an application in 2019. I believe the settlement agreement has a schedule, I don't recall, but breaking ground not for another couple of years after that.
2 years.
Yeah.
And as long as we're making good faith progress, the court is going to be satisfied.
and this gives them plenty of time to not use their own monies.
You mentioned some properties still need to be acquired. The locations that we're talking about, the land is not owned,
Correct.
Not all of them?
To do this appropriately, conservatively, we want to get court approval before we begin implementation. So we're still very much in the planning stage. July 2nd, as I'm sure you all know, we have a court date, that Jack will be presenting to the court all the plans, including the scattered site project. And then we'll have to, and they'll approve our spending plan, and then we'll be able to begin acquisition and things like that.
I did get a call today, incidentally, from Vince Bisagno, who represents the owners of Chetan Finley, North Finley. We've been trying to acquire that property. David Zimmerman was for several years, and it's owned by Altamari and leased by Paul Miller. And Paul Miller had agreed they would sell us the individual lot, but Altamari was resisting because of its overall agreement with Paul Miller. But in any event, Vince Bisagno represents Altamari. He called me today to say that they would be happy to work with the borough in trying to achieve this, at least with respect to that property, which is the senior citizen.
To that point, what if there's owners of lots that don't want to sell? I mean, maybe there's a plan with these sites picked out, but for whatever reason, just family issues or is.
The court is generally very flexible with switching out sites if there's good rationale, but that's would be what we have to do.
Okay.
If we were able to acquire 4 out of the 5 sites, would they just allow us to proceed with those 4 and not the 5th, or?
It's more about hitting the number.
Right, so you'd have to have the right ratio of everything.
And the planning board wasn't quite as enthusiastic, shall I say, as these developers were about how many units they want to see fitting on the site. But yes, if 4 sites could meet the obligation readily, I don't see a problem with that.
I agree.
So the obligation being 50 units, 50 bedrooms?
The obligation for these scattered sites is 50 affordable units, so however we can achieve that.
So it sounds like design would be based on how many parcels can be acquired, because if you only get 2 to 5 or 4 to 5, you're going to have to revisit your design, right? Or
Will we own how many of these? We own a few of them.
Yes. I think you own all but 2. My land use guy had to leave. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't have that memorized.
So it's one or 2 that we might need to still acquire.
Is there a percentage for ownership and rental for the units?
These are designed to be rental simply to be required to build fewer units. In other words, the law and the regulations prefer rental, so they give a 2-to-1 credit. When you build 1 rental unit, you get a credit as if you built 2 units. So in order to have the least land use impact on Bernardsville, that was always the intent, was to make this all rental.
Sure. Melanie, do you have something to let Melanie go first?
Yeah.
And Ryan, we'll get you up here.
Melanie Deportier, 141 Mine Brook Road. I missed the beginning of the meeting. I think you answered a couple of my questions. I wanted to know what the timeline was on all of this, because it's going to be right down the street from me.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what was the criteria for the people coming into these low-income housing. Because I lived through Habitat for Humanity, and I know that there were plenty of people in Bernardsville that could have moved into those units, but they were passed over. So I'd like to know what the criteria is, and is it going to be open to the people in Bernardsville that really need low-income housing, or are we bringing people in from different areas of New Jersey?
Yeah, probably both. The rules don't allow you to just select people from Bernardsville and not even just select people from the county.
Why not?
Is it because this whole process was set up to be anti-exclusionary zoning?
So then why are you being anti-Bernardsville residents if they need the low-income housing just as bad as everybody else?
No, they can apply as well.
Wouldn't they be the first people that would be able to go in there?
The preferential treatment is basically a de facto way of excluding everyone else. and I didn't write the rules.
That comes
So,
from the courts.
to
Yeah,
clarify
yeah.
though, she seems to be referring to Habitat for Humanity. I don't know if they would go under the same rules.
They're exempt.
Yeah,
Okay, so maybe they
Habitat-
use a different criteria
Yeah.
in that case.
Yes.
But I always see people that are saying that we need to raise money for this single mom in Bernardsville who can't send their kids to camp. There's plenty of people in Bernardsville that need low-income housing, not to mention the seniors, and I'm really happy to hear that you're doing something for the seniors. But I'm just concerned because this is my home. And I heard some people saying, well, you don't want to have common areas because that's when kids get into trouble. That's 2 doors down from me. So I'm really concerned about this, and I think I have a right to be.
So Randy,
Why couldn't, and this is going back 8 years, so it has nothing to do with you guys. It was before Jeff got on council, it was before my husband got on council. The Dunster property would have been a perfect place to put low-income housing.
Just to clarify, you said we can't sort of give Bernardsville residents sort of the right of, 2 equal applicants, Bernardsville gets to pick. We can't do that?
No, what's required, probably the preeminent rule in affordable housing is what they call affirmative marketing, which means everybody throws their name in a hat, and nowadays it's a computer, and then it's randomly selected, and then however that falls out is who's up next.
But what that sounds like though is that that's a process where everyone has an equal chance. No one is having a chance that's greater than somebody. So it's not you're neither being put at a disadvantage nor an advantage by being a current resident of the county or the town.
Yeah, and generally people don't want to change locations, so there is some tendency
Self-selection.
for people to just apply more percentage-wise.
Everything's based on region under the code of rules. And we're in region 3. I don't know how many regions are, 10?
There's 6.
6. And we're in with Middlesex and Hunterdon.
Yes.
So everything has to be based region-wide. I agree with Melanie. Logically, you would hope you could give Bernardsville resident preferences, but the state won't let us.
So Jack, are you saying if someone was in Region 5, they wouldn't be able to apply to a Region 3 property?
They can apply, but they would go to the
Bottom of the list.
We can give preference to
everybody in
Gotcha.
Region 3.
So if there was an
No matter
extra-
what their number was in the lottery.
Right. So then if there were 30 spaces, 29 people were from Region 3 applied, those 29 will all get in. There's one left over, somebody else from Region 5 or 6 could.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the other thing was, you said these are going to be rentals, these people aren't going to own the property. So we all know that when you rent something, it's not yours, so you don't take care of it.
My experience is that the developers that we saw here today are very reputable. Not a single one of them flipped the projects. They have a permanent property management division. And I don't know if you were here for one of the earlier presentations. They talked about all the social services that one of them has a social worker on site, and another one provides Kindles to every child if they read 3 books. So there's a lot about, looking holistically at these children and adults, and they have all sorts of employment, training, free computers.
So what is the financial criteria to be able to move into one of these rentals?
You have to be, currently the rule is, and I heard one of the presenters say it might get more liberal, but currently the rule is you have to be at or below 60% of the median income for the region. And one of the presenters was saying that might get changed to 80% that others consider.
What's our regional income?
What is our regional income median?
I think it's a net number of
I have that.
about 80,000.
I have that.
I don't think it's that high.
Let's see. Right.
That's the low income. Moderate is.
Like a 4-person household, we're talking about close to $70,000.
Is that low or moderate?
that would be, it's neither. With low-income housing tax credits, it falls kind of between low and moderate. They cut it off at 60%. Low is 50, moderate's 80, but the federal tax credits are 60. But that one presenter said HUD is looking to change that to 80%. Because the tax credits, although the New Jersey Housing Mortgage Finance Agency is the state clearinghouse, those are federal tax credits. And so HUD writes the main rules, and then every state's allowed to tweak them a bit.
So 70,000 gross income for a
Roughly,
household,
I mean, this doesn't have this.
So it's below 70,000.
Well, I think before we say
think
for
70
sure, we should double check and get the actual numbers and
Yeah.
make sure it's,
Estimate.
Whatever number it is, it's
Estimate
60% of it. Yeah.
or maybe 80%. So
Or
I
maybe
would prefer before we go on record saying it's X, Y, or
Right, I
Z,
understand.
that we get the definitive answer and both the question of 60 versus 80.
Well, I can tell you, it's actually.
Right now it's 60, I was thinking of
For
80.
Region 3, for a one-person household, moderate is 59,000, low is 36,890.
That's the net number, that's not the percent.
That's the net income.
Yeah.
Using
For a
the-
three-person household, just by way of example, for a one-person household, or two-person household, moderate is 75,000, and low is 47,430.
So it would be below 60% of that? Is that-
No, that's
No,
not.
that
That
is-
is the 60%. Yeah, that is the 60%. Okay.
So it might be even higher if it changes to 80%.
Correct.
Okay.
And they're adjusted annually as incomes go up.
Okay.
So if incomes go up. Just one other point with respect to the for sale housing, and Randy would know this better than I, it's very difficult right now to get financing because there's a very small window of qualification for that. Because on the one hand, you have to make enough to qualify for the mortgage, but you can't make too much, so you go above the income.
The other thing is.
Well, one second. What mortgage? We just talked about
No,
rental.
this is one of the reasons why we do rental versus doing for sale ones, because it's harder to sell them.
I just have two more questions. And then I'll go sit down. How many units are you looking at on Mine Brook Road?
It depends on the proposal, and they were flexible in terms of what the design is.
The settlement agreement says 16, right, Jack?
Yes.
16 units, so that's 16 rentals, with 16 balconies and 16 different entrances.
I think it would depend on what design
Okay,
requirements
That's
set
all
on.
negotiable. That was just there.
And the timeline for Mine Brook Road?
About 2 years.
2 years. Okay, thank you.
Let Ryan get up for a second, he had his hand up. Good evening. Good evening.
My name is Ryan Scott Weber. I am the grandson to Ronald Nardone, who was a longtime volunteer and the first recreation director in Bernardsville. I want to congratulate the Ferrani family and the Borough Council for naming the field in honor of Lou Ferrani, first of all. I'm a long-time resident and volunteer of Bernardsville. He also was my sixth grade math teacher.
Okay.
I just want to make it clear that I was communicating with you guys at the request of a member of the governing body. I would like to thank this individual for recognizing the similarities between Lou Ferrani and my grandfather. My grandfather was a longtime borough volunteer, the first recreation chairman and first appointed recreation director. This period of volunteer and appointed service spans over 45 years. Given what was done for Mr. Ferrani, which was well deserved, my family and I are requesting in Mr. Nardone's honor a plaque in the Claremont Field area, adjacent to the field in the house, the field house, which was the first recreation center in the borough and the location of many recreational activities. The family and I will also pay for the plaque and its installation in full. I appreciate your time and consideration in the matter, and it's a matter of great importance to us.
And like I previously discussed with you at the library, this is in process right now, so the council will make a decision, and then they'll review.
Yeah, I have a
everything.
packet
But thank you
too.
for
I
coming.
have some examples of like different plaques that they have put in other parks, and this also is a packet of all of his accomplishments.
Can you provide that to the clerk? Yes. The clerk is scanning it. So.
I was here about 4 years ago.
Yes.
And it was just my family, but I wanted to come back because I think he definitely deserves it, and he was a big part of the community. So I wanted to see if we can make this happen.
Well, we thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And we're going to discuss this further.
Okay.
Jeff?
Just a clarification, if I could, about the rental.
Sure, just state your name for the record so everybody knows. There you go.
If the rentals, the qualifications are based on meeting this minimum or being below.
Are you picking them up, Anthony?
What happens if people, through their diligence and hard work, and they get promoted and he starts making more money, he or she starts making more money, and all of a sudden they're making more than that cutoff point? Do they get evicted? Do the rents not get renewed, or what happens?
They have to, Jack, don't they have to requalify every year?
No, we can't put them out.
It's a great system.
The rentals are
It's
going to
great.
be every 1 or 2 or whatever years, the lease is going to come up, right? Would it not be renewed?
There's generally annual leases. Most municipalities do not require, it's a great question, they do not require what's known as recertification, which means every year, or maybe every several years, you reevaluate their median income. And then if they don't qualify, I work in 50 different towns on this type of thing, and I don't work with a single town that does that, but I know that it's done in a few towns, this recertification, so I can't speak exactly to what happens if someone like won the lottery, because then basically these units are no different than any other units when it comes to state tenant landlords.
Yeah, we can't evict them, and there's no real benefit to the borough.
I guess they would have to, you know, I don't even want to presume.
Are we subject to some sort of audit in the future if they were looking to say,
You hearing us?
10% of your affordable housing
You hearing
are
this?
being housed by people who don't qualify?
As long as they were certified as qualified at the outset.
So wait a minute, I'm really confused. Why can some towns recertify, say you have to recertify them, but we can't?
I don't know why they would.
You can, I can investigate that and we've got a couple of years.
I think it keeps people honest. I love their point.
I would argue against a reserve because that goes against a sense of community. What people are going to come in, they're going to stay, and they're going to be part of the community.
True.
Not somebody who feels like they've got sort of Damocles over their head, and if they all of a sudden, if they're successful, they're going to get booted.
But presumably they may move on, but the other thing is we lose the affordable housing credit. We have to replace it, and it's almost impossible to evict a tenant in New Jersey.
Yeah. I think the prevailing assumption was that as nice as the unit is, if someone's income expands enough, they're going to want to buy a house, they're going to want to move on. And, I can get back to you on how it works in other towns. There is an administrative cost, of course, to recertify, which is something that is not normally required.
Very few people move out of rent-control apartments in New York City, too.
True.
Right?
True.
Doesn't matter what they're making.
Yeah.
Cynthia, do you have something?
Yeah, just quick, Cynthia email from Mountain Cover. So if we
Yeah, as we move
have
on
these
into this.
ostensibly 5 properties and add them to the 3 that we already have, how close are we going to be in our affordable housing?
That's another good question. But basically, the plan that the planning board approved last week fully meets the obligation. That includes a few other projects that are very minor, a couple of group homes, and basically what's called a couple of durationally adjusted sites. In other words, the court recognizes that these sites may never get developed, but if they were to get developed, they would like to see at least 15% of the units on those sites affordably developed. For example, the quarry. I mean, who here thinks the quarry is going to get developed in the next 10 years for residential housing? The state allowed us to put a lot of our application into the durational adjustment for that site, and also Quimby, which has, I guess, somewhat of a greater likelihood, but not. It's not required that either of those two sites get developed between now and the end of the protection period, which is 2025.
And again, with these developers tonight, these were proposals, so there's still going to be government interaction with this. So
It all goes through the normal approval process.
We used several other mechanisms, too, one of which was 17 credits for extending controls on Pine Ridge. So 17 of those units, the controls were about to expire. We extended them, so 17 of our obligations met through those extensions. And then there's a market to affordable program, which is 3 existing houses would be purchased, renovated, and then sold at, the restricted amount. So there were various mechanisms, including, and as Randy said, 3 group homes, which is good. It's 12 credit, because in the case of a group home, each bedroom counts as a unit.
Yes, I see that. Okay, thank you. And if I could just want to say one thing to the council. You have a document on your website. I had to search it, for it, but it's a PDF document that asks simple questions, gives simple answers. It just simply needs to be updated since I think the settlement agreement, and I would just implore you to do that so that people understand, what is happening and what it is and who is coming in and how they meet requirements, et cetera, all the basic questions.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Just one quick question. Melanie DePortier, 141 Mine Brook Road. You were talking about group homes. When you say group homes, what kind of groups do you mean? You mean senior citizens? Do you mean disabled people?
Special needs houses, supportive houses.
Do you mean, I remember how many years ago they were talking about, what were they talking about? They were talking about,
Halfway house.
what? The halfway house? They were talking about a halfway house going in? None of that?
Developmentally disabled.
Okay.
All right, Mary?
So this meets our obligation to 2025?
Yes.
And then we might get another assessment?
Of course, yeah.
It never goes away.
It never stops.
Everybody's making
Our
money.
goal in this was to mitigate the effect on the borough.
Right. Absolutely.
And again, we're...
A period we closed through 2025.
So this settlement isn't the end of story?
No.
It's like you meet your obligation and...
Yeah, it just keeps coming back. So,
This is the third round.
And there'll be a 4th.
Now, Laurel.
all right, we're all good?
No?
Ready to move on to ordinances?
Yes.
All right, open a public hearing on ordinance 1770, authorizing the purchase of filters for the wastewater treatment plant and appropriating $710,000. I read that right, yes. Therefore, from the capital improvement fund. Public hearing is open. Anybody have any comments? Public, council members?
No.
I entertain a motion to close the public. I'll close the public hearing. A motion to pass on final reading and adopt as published.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt.
Second.
Second by Mr. Leo. Roll call, please.
Mr. DeLeo?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Sure.
Mrs. Mayor?
Yes.
Open public hearing on ordinance 1771, an ordinance designating the borough engineer as the flood plan administrator and amending Article 14 of the borough land use ordinance entitled Environmental Requirements. Public hearing, anybody from the public or council? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion to pass on final reading and adopt as published.
Move.
Moved by Mr. DeLeo. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schmidt. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yep.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeo?
Yes.
We have resolutions 18-133 to 18-146. Does anyone pull any for questions or comments?
Before you fight this, may I interject? Resolutions 144, 145, and 146 are all affordable housing resolutions. First, 144 is endorsing the housing element fair share plan adopted by the planning board. It basically implements the settlement agreement, and then it's based on that housing element fair share plan that the ordinances that were introduced at the last meeting and will be considered for adoption at the next meeting were adopted or introduced. The second one is adopting an affordable marketing plan, and that basically, as Randy explained earlier, we have to follow all the code rules with marketing all the affordable housing units. And if I may point out, there are two corrections in that, in the final version. One is there was a reference to Region 2, it should have been Region 3, it's actually Region 3, and somehow the numbering of the paragraphs looks like auto numbering went awry. So if you notice, it goes from 4 to 12 or something in the agenda. The actual resolution does not do that. And the third one is approving the updated affordable housing spending plan, and that's the court's approval of our plan to spend money for the settlement agreement, basically, as outlined in the agreement. And all of these things were prepared by Randy's firm.
Okay.
Okay.
How much do we have in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund right now?
It's, I believe it's around 3 million.
Yeah, it's close to 3 million.
So that would be the source of funding for a lot of the things we talked about tonight, and why we wouldn't necessarily then, or we hopefully won't need to use any general fund dollars to support these actions that we're considering.
Right. Correct. And we continue to collect those funds because each residential development has to contribute 1.5% to equalize the assessed value to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and every commercial development has to contribute 2.5% toward the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay.
We have about 2.914 million to budget. It's not in the account right now, but that includes what's in the account now and about 300,000 a year in what are the projected fees?
Would that be used to acquire the property?
Yes. Yes, I would recommend. In fact, that's in here.
Anyone else from the council?
Does that include the Conti property, the church?
The Conti property does not require any.
There's no subsidy in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in the Conti property. As you know, their requirement under the Board of Adjustment approval was to build 5 affordable units off-site. They were only able to actually construct 4 units off-site because group homes, that's the first of the 3 group homes, because I guess 4 is the optimum number for a group home. So with respect to the 5th unit, they contributed, or they will contribute, $147,000 and change, which is the COA figure for providing, or for compensation in lieu of providing the unit itself.
Thanks, John.
All right, anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain.
I'm sorry, I'd have one more question. In the 18145, it talks about a lot about an administrative agent who's got a lot of responsibilities for this marketing plan.
Yes.
Is the administrative agent somebody who's working for one of these developers?
No, it's me.
Okay, got it.
Now, in the case of the tax credit project, they will self-administer. There's an exception to the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls because they're so heavily regulated by the federal government. We don't have to watch them. They're, you know, and they're audited very regularly for their tax credit investors. So there's not normally a problem with, you're automatically compliant with that project. It's for all the other projects that we would be your administrative agent.
Including Pine Ridge, like when Pine Ridge units turn over,
yeah,
the new purchaser has to qualify. So it would be the administrative agent who qualifies the person.
Which we're currently doing.
So if we add 5 new properties and 50 more units or 70 more units, something on that order, will we have to increase our allocation for paying our administrative agent to administer all this extra work?
Well, theoretically, but those 50 units for the scattered site, we won't be administering.
But there would be another administrative agent then?
They'll self-administer.
Okay, that's what I was. They'll self-administer this.
Yeah, once that project is done,
okay,
you just wish them well, and they're on their own.
And the state and our federal.
Got it. Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. Is we pay the administrative agent, they're going to pay the administrative agent.
For those 50 units.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Entertain a motion to move.
Are we moving all of these right now?
Yes, unless you have questions on something else.
Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
18139 is the governing body certification of the annual audit. I couldn't find it online in this week's package. I guess it went out previously.
It was emailed at the beginning of May. If you
So-
want to hold off on that.
No, I just want to read it again before we sign it, and then we can do that,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So we could pass it now, and
You
then
can
I,
pass it, you can read it, you can sign it at a later time.
Okay.
You have 45 days from May 3rd.
Okay.
To send that in.
I just want to check.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyone else before we move?
Mayor, I apologize if I'm out of order. I just want to correct one number, that the 2.9 was, the 2.9 million was projected revenues from 2018 through 2025. If you combine that with the cash on hand, the total is 5.23 million. Okay, I just wanted the record.
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Entertain a motion to move.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Mara, do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Mrs. Leo, roll call, please.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
No.
Mr. Sullivan?
Wait,
Please.
somebody voted no?
Yes.
You have to pull out the resolution you voted no on, because for consent agenda, you need.
18-144 through 18-146.
Okay.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. Mara?
Yes.
So that would just be through 143. Now you have to have a separate vote on 144 through 146.
Okay, I entertain a motion to move 18-144 to 18-146.
Can I just ask a question about these then before we re-vote on these?
Yeah, let me just, finish my statement. All right, so the first motion was 18-133 to 18-143. All right, good. Tom.
Oh, no, we're going to vote on the first group?
We don't have to re-vote, do we, Jay?
No,
The first
we
group,
just make the
okay.
consent agenda through 143.
Got it. Okay, so I did read through the 18-144 at 145, 146. Within one of those three, or maybe within all of them, it said that we are on a timeline here to get this approved. Otherwise, the court could pull back on their approval of our agreement. Is that right? It said something like we had 120 days to get one of these things passed.
Yes. The general period is 120 days during the compliance period.
Mhm.
Our compliance hearing is actually July 2nd. And as long as we have all these things in the works, then the court will approve it.
So we have 120 days, technically in writing, we have 120 days from July 2nd. Is that right?
No, from the fairness hearing, which is December 18th.
So we have 120 days from December 18th to get these things passed.
Correct. Although the 120 days wasn't hard and fast, it was really to the compliance hearing, and the court gave us time
Okay.
to get all this done, so they scheduled it for July 2nd, but they checked with me first to make sure that was an acceptable date.
If that's our date right now, we'd have to go back and ask for approval to get an extension beyond July 2nd.
Correct. Now we don't have to have everything done.
Okay?
We have to have the ordinance at least introduced, which we've done. The housing element's been adopted by the planning board, so if you endorse it tonight, that will be done. We don't have to have all the elements of it done. We just have to have the framework in place.
Got it. Okay.
I have a question, Jack. The planning board, their resolution has specified number of units. For instance, North Finley, they have 20 units. And what happens if one of the developers says, we can put 50 units in there? How flexible and how does that get worked out? If they want to put 50 and the town is willing to...
As long as they don't want to put less. So if a developer comes in and wants to put 50 on that site, that would be part of the site plan application process.
Back to the planning board?
Correct.
But then they're going to have to get the parking approved and everything.
Right.
Because you as a council will adopt the ordinances that implement the housing element fair share plan. So then any developer comes in, just like a non-affordable housing development, would proceed to the planning board on a site plan approval application, and if they didn't comply with the ordinance, they may need variances.
Okay.
So Jack, say they come in with a proposal and we, as a town, as a community, as a council, and also the planning board, and we say, we don't like the elements of the design, we want to see some more field stone, something that looks nice in our neighborhoods. Are we obligated to pay that additional cost for those improvements from their
No,
basic plan?
No, I think that could be part of our negotiating.
Okay.
I think most of them indicated they were flexible tonight with that, you know,
Yes.
and trying to
Okay.
incorporate.
And that's part of their pilot plan, right?
Well, a pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. So some affordable housing developments, rather than paying taxes, they make a payment to the town that's negotiated. That's usually in a redevelopment scenario. I think it has to be a redevelopment scenario, actually. So I don't think any of these projects would be pilots.
I think there may be a requirement from the Housing Mortgage Finance Agency for tax credits for the municipalities to provide a pilot.
Right, okay.
But the pilots can be structured to not be unfavorable to the municipality.
Who would do that? Would the planning board
No, that
negotiate?
would be the council.
The council would,
Yes.
Pilot programs were not part of the proposals that we talked about tonight, were they?
I'd have to double check the financial
Okay.
scenario. But we've got, you know, plenty of time to negotiate with the developer, and whatever developer you select as your primary, that they'll be the ones you work with until you're comfortable to sign something. There'll be sort of a memorandum of understanding when both parties negotiate with each other for 2 or 3 months or more, and then when both parties are satisfied that everything fits, then signatures can be had. Otherwise, there are other, you know, they're all competent developers. So,
Yes, so if it doesn't work out with developer 1, we can go to developer 2, and right on down the line.
actually, developer 4 and 5 were perfectly competent too, but they deserve to be ranked where they were, but they built beautiful things too.
Right, okay.
So tonight, the 3 that came tonight are really the only ones that sent back document RFP?
There
ones-
were
There were
5.
more? There was 2 more. Are they gonna come?
No.
It was down selected.
I'm sorry?
They were down selected to 3, right?
Yeah, we discussed that in the last
Yeah,
meeting.
right.
I don't remember. Okay.
All right, I entertain a motion to move 18144 to 18146. Motion?
I move.
Is that what you're talking?
Yes.
Moved by Mr. O'Day,
I'll second.
second by Mr. DeLeo. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
No.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeo?
Yes.
I will run the reports to the municipal attorney. Anybody have any questions for our attorney?
Kevin, I have one, which you and I discussed. Jack, I sent you an email on this. The people who own the house, it backs up, it's on Wesley, and it backs up to the library. They want to buy the property, but I think it's, I don't even know, but I guess it's borough-owned, the property between, and they'd like to buy it.
Yeah, I know we checked to see whether it was on the Rusty, I don't think it was. Yeah, I mean, we can certainly talk to them.
So what we
Sorry, is this by near the library exit and it's on the left-hand side, then there's a White House?
Say White House, yeah.
So we just needed to know if that's part of our green acres or
Green
open
acres,
space or something.
Yeah, do we know the lot and block? I can check.
You got the paper in front of you?
Yeah, I didn't realize that was on my list, I'm sorry.
All right, Jack, if you can't check it tonight, we'll,
Yeah, there's no
you could
rush.
just email us and we'll
Yeah, I'll look now.
we'll have it for the next meeting. Anything else from the municipal attorney? I see none, we'll move to council, public safety.
Jack, how would that process go? In theory, it's municipal owned and they want to buy it, we want to sell it, do you have to hire an appraiser?
Yes, we have to hire appraisers, and it has to be sold at public auction or public bidding, unless it's undersized. If it's undersized, we can sell it to contiguous property owners, and if there's more than one, we have to have a public auction that all contiguous owners can participate in.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, anything?
Yes, nothing to report per se, other than we do need to talk about the interviews we had with you and I for the sergeant's exam.
And a personnel matter?
Right, and one personnel matter, right.
Okay. All right, we're going to discuss that in executive.
Executive session,
Yes,
please.
all right. That's it?
That's it.
Okay, 9C, Council Finance and Personnel Committee.
Should we have a meeting?
We did not have a meeting, so we've been trying to get schedules with people traveling and vacation schedules. We haven't had a meeting since our last report. We're trying to schedule it for next week.
I'll be around next week.
What day next week?
We don't have a date yet, but
Okay.
if there's a day, maybe we can talk before we leave.
I'm here now, so, yeah.
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 All right, so it sounds like next week's gonna work, so we'll have a report for our next.
I think Ralph's going to send you guys emails tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I was traveling.
All right, Council Engineering, Technology, and Public
John,
Works.
we haven't had a meeting in a while. You want to give an update since our last meeting? It's probably been like 3 weeks since our last meeting.
Sure. We were supposed to get started with the Mine Brook Road restoration on Liberty this Thursday. I know you find it hard to believe it's supposed to rain, so that's probably going to push us off till next week. That's all that's left on Liberty Road. On Mine Road, we have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for next week. Hopefully, after school's out, end of June, we'll get started with the improvements on Mine Road. We will coordinate our work with what Conti's doing down at the other end of the road. Somerset Woodland Passaic, preliminary engineering is pretty much done. Anticipate an August bid with a September start. Chapin Road and Mine Mount Road, we've received drainage easements signed back from property owners, so that's allowing us to move forward with our drainage improvements. We're advertised for our filter replacement project. We will be receiving bids June 28th for that. Those are the big items.
Yeah. Anderson grant?
Anderson and Pill Hill are both, we anticipate the end of this month, Farrar will be sending, because we're getting state aid for those, we have to send those down to the DOT and get their blessing on them.
Okay. When do you think, if you had to guess, when do you think Anderson might be a start?
Because we're getting state aid for that, we have to do work on the curb ramps, Chris.
Okay.
So it's not as easy as just getting a milling and paving project. We can do that through the co-op.
Before October, you think? If you had to guess?
We'll get it done before the fall.
Okay.
Is that the same for Pill Hill?
Same for Pill Hill. A little more involved. The drainage will take a little bit more time. The curb ramps are probably a couple weeks for a motivated contractor on Anderson Hill Road.
Perfect. Thank you, John.
All right, any other committee or commission reports? Seeing none? All right, I'll move on to items of business.
You missed one.
Any housing zoning? Jeff, do you have anything for the council? We have your report in the package. Anything new?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing unusual. You'll probably notice there are a lot of fire-related requirements, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, and recently been recalls on a lot of fire extinguishers. And as we're doing our inspections, we're finding these extinguishers that are no longer functioning, and they've been all recalled. So we've been telling the landlords they've got to replace these safety devices in all the rental units.
Jeff, do you have a manufacturer or code for that?
Yes, yeah, it's the Kidder fire extinguishers that are not functioning. They have a plastic handle on them. It's been found that the handle, when you're fighting a fire, will just snap off.
Wow.
So they've all been recalled.
Okay.
There's a piece on the website about it in the fire safety section on the ones that we want, and we sent to the landlords all updated information on what they should be purchasing as we send their annual renewals.
Okay.
All right, anyone else?
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
All right, seeing none, I'll move on to draft ordinances, adopting the draft ordinance in our package, adopting borough facility naming policies. Did everybody get a chance to review it?
Yeah, what the one thing, it wasn't clear what a donation is as far as naming. Like donation to the borough, or was it, or the property to be named, but, so, you know, I think you gotta quantify that somehow. I mean, the resolution we did, basically have to pay for the thing you want named, which to me is a pretty good bar, I think.
And Jack, were you referring to donation of land there, I believe?
I think it needs to be clear as a starter.
It says
donation or the family has made exceptional contributions to the borough, you know, donation to the borough or the property to name. What's the donation or?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's gotta be clearer.
Yeah, now under monuments, I think it's clear that the cost of design, installation, and maintenance of the monument would be
Yeah, that's
by
the
requester.
Yeah,
We
that
could do a
shifts
similar
that.
thing for,
I mean, couldn't we just change the word donation to the borough of the property to be named in honor of the individual?
yeah. And we could add a similar thing, as I said, in paragraph A4 under monuments. Well, actually, I think the section on monuments and then the branches of trees actually qualifies the introductory paragraphs. You know, the introductory paragraph talks about conditions. And then if you go down under monuments, it says that the cost will be borne by the requester. And similarly in B, under branches and trees, says it will be paid for by the requester.
Yeah, no, but I think also the facility, just naming of facilities needs to be clearer though, I think.
Okay, yeah.
And as far as, you know, I have reservations about 25-4 just because I feel like that invites identity politics into the conversation that's never productive.
Can you read it?
The borough encourages submission of names that reflect the heritage, cultural, ethnic, or gender diversity of the community.
I took that from Christine Zamara's sample ordinance. It's up to you whether you want to put it.
What's everybody saying?
Oh, it sounds like a pretty inclusive statement to me.
I don't know, I think it just goes down a road that could...
What's the road?
Identity politics, we hear too much of it, I think. I mean, if someone qualifies, they qualify, merit's merit. It doesn't need to, you know, encourage any particular, you know, outcome. That's just my feeling on it.
Anyone else? Comment on it? Do we include it or not? What do you think, Chris?
I don't know, I have to think about it.
Okay. Jeff, any comment on it?
No comment.
Oh, Michael? Christine?
I think it should be there.
Okay.
Okay, so, do we want to discuss it further, or we're going to leave it for, I heard, we got to think about it.
You gonna adopt another draft, Jack, for his next meeting?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll put that paragraph in brackets so it draws your attention to it, and I'll clarify donation under 25-2.
Okay.
As we discussed.
So I had one or two other comments then.
Sure.
So it's 25-2, item 3. It says 5 years.
Yes.
Do we want to leave it at 5? I saw a different draft that said 2. There was one that had 1 in it. There's been a lot of drafts, so.
And all the drafts came from different sources.
Right, so I'm just saying, do we want 5 years to be in our final draft, or?
That's still up to you guys, yeah.
So I'm asking the rest of the council the question, is it 5, 1, 2, 3?
I think it should be discussed. I don't like these votes that just, it's thrown in front of us on a random day. I was traveling, I did not have time to review these things.
Okay, well, this was in the package, though.
Yeah, I hear you, but I didn't have time.
Okay.
We're not voting tonight.
No, I know, but I'm just.
We're talking about marking it up tonight, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess, could we specifically just talk about the 5-year thing? Like,
Sure.
Is 5 years a good time frame to wait?
Does everybody think 5 years?
I guess when I was looking at the other one, in flesh, it seems a bit long. Someone's to donate property to name, you know, for the borough, which is great for all of us. 5 years seems to be a long time to do that. Like, well, at least 1 year to 2 years maybe. So it'd probably take that long to, go through the machinations of, local government anyway.
Yeah.
Because you certainly need some time for reflection and consideration of these
It
things.
might take us a half a year to get through this, so.
So let me ask the question differently. Is 1 year sufficient? Does anybody want more than a year before that somebody can submit a name for consideration?
I think 2 is ample time for reflection, like John said.
More than one?
Yeah, more than 1, I think.
I like 2.
2?
So,
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, 2.
Two? Okay.
I had one more general comment, and this is more about the fact that there's really no sort of like pass-fail criteria in here. It's again, it's a sort of subjective. Everything that we've written, it's kind of, person who's made a contribution, a well-defined connection between the individual, family, and the borough. A pass-fail criteria, and I think I've heard it suggested at one of our earlier meetings, might be something like you need 200 signatures on a petition, something like that. I don't know if we want to have anything like that included in here, but I noticed there's not something like that in here.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it's inherently subject to process to some extent, but,
Hmm.
I have no objection to adding.
Maybe the petition is required for something that's like naming a facility or a field, but not required for naming a bench or a tree or, a plaque on a.
Particularly, they have to go through the planning board, sort of just a process to make sure it kind of fits wherever they want to put it, and,
So maybe the petition idea would just be something that's more significant, naming of a building, a field, or, a property or something like that.
So 200, is that a number you want, or more, less?
I mean, 200 signatures is a heavy lift, I think.
That's a lot.
That's a big
You know?
lift.
That's a lot.
What do they do for regular petitions that get on the ballot? It's a percentage of the assembly. What is the rule for it, John?
It's a percentage of the votes at the last election for General Assembly.
For general assembly.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
very
write this
good.
stuff, I just.
I mean, I
The
think.
number always changes, that's all.
I mean, the tone of the comments from the public that was here, generally want kind of a high bar to make sure it's like the people who get there actually, are deserving of it. So, I mean, 200, sounds like a good number, but.
Yeah, I think the question is if it's too much,
Yeah,
I would suggest a solid number like that, though, rather than a formula of the state.
You can't get your family and friends to sign it as, hey, it's got people who, in the wider circle of the community.
I think 2 is high, but.
100?
Guys, I'd like 100 better.
So we agree that there should be something. Now it's just a question of what the quantity is. Is that? I'm looking at the other council members when I'm asking the question. Do we think there should be something in here about a petition? You should get a certain number of signatures, and this is for a field, a building, or a property.
Yeah, I mean,
Other stuff, smaller items wouldn't be required the petition.
That you're not
Benches
telling
and
me.
monuments and trees would be required.
Monuments, trees, benches would not require it.
Okay.
Fair enough, everybody?
Yeah.
100?
Sounds good.
Okay, 100.
100? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have another draft of the.
Anything else?
We're getting there.
Anybody else?
Under monuments, 1.A.5, I think it's a typo. It says it at any time for any reason in the discretion. Let's see. The borough is not responsible for damage or deterioration of the monument and may remove it at any time. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. That's it. That's all I had.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing
I
none.
have one more thing.
Okay.
25-3,
Okay.
procedures for naming or renaming a public facility or placement of a monument, bench, or tree. Letter A talks about the committee, and I thought it was, everybody felt like we didn't want to have a separate committee. We just wanted to cut that whole part out of it.
Yeah, I did notice that when I read this. I mean, I don't know if we need 25-3 item A.
So this talks about the procedures, like what's the procedure gonna be? So
Well, I think-
initially, we said there would be a subcommittee, but then I thought we talked and said nobody wanted the subcommittee. It was just gonna be the council and that's it.
I think the intent of this paragraph is just to refer to
An appropriate existing
the
committee.
appropriate, you wouldn't have to refer to any, but if it were appropriate to send it to the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, you know, that it would go to them.
So instead of shall, maybe we just say may.
May.
The borough administrator shall.
Change it to May.
May.
Yeah.
Like with the Nardone request, maybe that would go to rec to consider, like, you know, where she, if, you know, to talk about the nuts and bolts of it.
So we said the borough administrator at the direction of the council may refer.
Same for letter B. It says shall hold a public
Well-
hearing.
No, but we will hold a
Well, the
public
problem
hearing.
is then if you go on to the next steps, then if he didn't refer it, then the council would have to hold a public hearing, which we can do. I'm just pointing that out. I could change that to the administrator will refer to the council, and then the council in its discretion may refer to another committee or board or commission if it feels that it's appropriate. I mean, we do that in the case for like street vacations.
Okay.
We refer them to the planning board.
All right.
So I can change the whole concept of that. This came out of one of the other policies from somebody else, so. So I'll make it, the default is to the council, and the council will have the discretion to refer to appropriate committees as it sees fit.
That seems fine to me. Has anybody else a better idea?
Fine.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll make that change.
Okay, thanks.
And then I guess for letter C, you kind of have to change that too.
Yes, yeah, I'll adjust the whole thing.
Everything in 25.3, you'll adjust it to the new
Correct.
wording.
All right, so Jeff will further discuss this next meeting. Everybody's fine?
I'm okay.
Okay. 10B, stormwater review training. Something we have to do as municipal governing body members and our board members. Has to be completed by July 1st, 2018. Or for new members, within 6 months of commencing their duties.
It's really a bizarre requirement.
Yes.
It's not in the statute, it's not in the regulation. It's in the renewal of the area-wide Ujipti's permits. And I'm not sure DEP has the right to do that, but they did. And it talks primarily about planning boards that review stormwater applications. Why governing bodies have to do it, I'm not sure, since you don't really review stormwater applications. But it says that in there. It's an online video. I think it's about 45 minutes.
Okay,
Is it here, the link?
It's
Yeah.
the last page.
down the bottom.
NJ Poe.
Who's required to do the training?
Us.
All of us?
Board members, yeah.
Anthony, can you send an email out with that link too? Because
It's right on the bottom.
yeah,
Yes.
I hear you, but we just maybe
Yeah.
can,
I'll send an email out, and then if you could just respond to me when you viewed it, this way I approve, and then we'll
good.
have the record.
Yeah,
of what
that's
we
the way to
said.
go.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, 10C, Board of Adjustment vacancies. We have 2 vacancies. I asked Anthony to send you the package. I'm sure we're probably not ready to make appointments this evening. We'll have to review it further, and skill banks again. So I just wanted you to have that, so it's in the package.
Thank you.
Okay, correspondence. Don't have any? All right, second open session. Anybody from the public? Yes, Jeff.
Maybe a question of order.
Just state your name again so we know who you are.
Jeff Hammond, 18 foot left word. So our favorite topic, the ordinance is about naming. Is there going to be an opportunity for public comment on this once you've marked it all up?
Yeah, this is only a draft we're working on right now. Yes. All right. Anyone else?
So I have for the open session, I had a request from a member of the public that the parking spots outside of on Claremont Road, outside of the Penguin Ice Cream,
Yes.
be made 30-minute parking. I don't know what the right approach is for considering such a request. Does it go through
That's gonna be,
consideration here?
Yeah.
that's gonna have to be discussed because we don't have a limit on any other parking spots that I know of in town. We do, where?
I believe right in front of the station is 30 minutes.
That's news to me. I don't know there's a sign there. Is there a sign there, John?
We have quite a few signs around town. There's half hour, there's 15 minute, there's 2 hour, there's,
Is there?
you know.
Jeez, they're not very well marked. I park in town all the time. I never see that.
I think it's just in front of the station.
No, there's.
No, it's the whole
there's-
block,
there's
that's what I remember.
Timed parking all around Olcott Square.
The chief wanted signs hung so people could see them.
Where have I seen those?
When we did the downtown project, there's a lot of signage.
Yes.
Maybe it's already covered, just need to enforce it.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Do we know what the regulation, if any, is on the spots in front of the Penguin Ice Cream location? There's 3 spots right there, you know? 2 hour? Okay. Well, the request came in, this open
Okay.
session, so I just brought it up. I don't know
All
what
right.
the right next step would be, but.
That's fine. Council could discuss it further at next meeting. Jack, see what's.
I would refer to public safety.
What we have, we refer to Public Safety Committee? Okay,
I'll bring it up to the
That's
chief
good.
and we'll have it in the meeting.
very good.
All right.
Anyone else open session?
What is the request for 30 minute?
30-minute
30
parking
minute?
for the 3 spots in front of Penguin Ice Cream.
Got it, okay.
I see no further open session comments. I'm going to take a motion to move into closed session to discuss personnel matters and contract negotiations. Do I have a motion to move?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor of going into closed session?
Aye.
Good, okay.